Armadale. That used to be the site of the old railway house in Armadale, Station Master's house, where Jean stayed in the 1930s. There's the new railway line they've put in on top of the old roadway. They dug up the railway to start with, and then they left the roadway, so they're now reinstating the railway. Spent 20 years digging up railways, now they're spending 20 years reinstating them. So this is the railway line. That will link Airdrie just south of Glasgow and Pathgate and onward to Edinburgh. So there's Jean pointing out all the local history associated with the area, where she went to school, where she went to play. They were all fields apparently at one time, but now they're all built up with houses and factories and goodness knows what. So that's Armadale Station, and down there is the new station. A large car park, whereas on the other side of the bridge, as we mentioned, is the site of the original station and station house, which is near that orange thing effectively. But it's there no more, unfortunately. The island you see there is on Loch Leven, and Loch Leven is beside Kinross, which is in Kinrossshire. So we've stopped here to let Jean Hardie and our Jean have a look at the little harbour area and toilet facilities at the bistro. That's where they are just now. Because Jean Hardie was interested in the history of Loch Leven and the fact that on the island we have the place where Mary Queen of Scots was imprisoned by Scottish noblemen after the death of the murder of her husband Lord Darnley. Mary Queen of Scots was Catholic, and by this time the Reformation was in full force in Scotland and the noblemen were Protestants, so they didn't want a Catholic queen. So they imprisoned her until such times as she abdicated in favour of her son, King James, who was Protestant, had converted to Protestantism. And she kept her prisoner for years. When she did eventually abdicate, the noblemen still kept her prisoner because they didn't want her gathering together the Catholics and forming a rebellion. She eventually escaped, however, and she fled Scotland to England and sought the protection of her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen. And the first thing Elizabeth I did was put Mary Queen of Scots back in prison. She was there for about 15 years, I think it was, until eventually Elizabeth arranged for Mary Queen of Scots to be beheaded. Because Elizabeth I was a Virgin Queen, she had no heir, and when she died, the English crown fell to King James VI of Scotland, so he was known as King James VI and First. Or if you're English, he's known as King James I and VI, but it's King James VI of Scotland, First of England. So that was the union of the crowns. Many years later, the two parliaments, the Scottish Parliament and the English Parliament, joined together as a common parliament, and that's when Great Britain was formed. So there's a bit of local history. It's still a slightly misty, the Har is still rolled in a bit, it's lifting quite well. But we're only about 12 miles from Kirkcaldy, and the North Sea Har can spread a little bit inland. So that's what we see. So it's not fog, as Jean Hardie said, but it's Har. But we're getting her talking Scots again. She's talking Canadian for a little while, but she's eventually started to speak properly again. So we'll have her train by the time she gets back to Canada. Here we are in Perth. The river you see is the River Tay, which is runs along the north border of Fife. So we're in Perth, The fair city of Perth, as it's called, and the River Tay runs through Perth. Just downstream, which is that way, if you follow the river you end up in Dundee. But in the middle of the river, at that end, a little bit further on, is a small island, and they're called Small Island Inches. And upstream in the Tay is another small island, which is another called an inch. So the north inch is north of Perth and the south inch is south of Perth, and Perth lies between the two. So if anybody's in a quiz and ever says what's the smallest city in the world, and someone says the Vatican, then you can say they're wrong. The smallest city in the world is Perth in Scotland, and they'll say, well, how can that be? And you'll say, because Perth lies between 2 inches, so it must be the smallest city in the world, because it lies between the north inch and the south inch, both islands in the River Tay. Here's the girls zooming away because they're desperate for the toilet and a cup of tea, and I think I'm quite happy to join them on this occasion because I'm bursting for the toilet and a cup of tea. So, short shot just now, but there'll be more shots of Perth, I'm sure. This is in St John Street in Perth, one of the many shopping streets. Quite nice shops, you know, traditional type shops as opposed to mass supermarket type shops. We're in front of one of the famous shops for nice clothes, proper clothes, warm clothes, fashionable clothes, McCune's of Perth. It's got ladies, gents, children's homeware. It's also, I remember one time going in, it had a corsetry department. There's a big sign up that says something like, have your corsets fitted by our professional staff. Brassiers made to measure. Not that I was actually a customer, but I just happened to notice the sign. My main interest is the fact that it has a coffee shop and a toilet. So I'll wait here till the girls appear because, quite honestly, I've no idea where they are. They just disappear. Here we are in the High Street in Perth. Still the two Jeans out looking for shopping. It's quite busy today with the sun being out, quite a few happy shoppers. There's a chap making a phone call. Obviously his wife, she's not in the least interested. She's been sitting with that vacant expression on for ages. So on we go up the pedestrianised area, up the High Street. I don't know how much shopping they've done, but I don't see any bags apart from their handbags, so it can't be very much. I'll let you know any progress on that front. There's Jean speaking to some of the local wildlife that's coming to the High Street. We have some big squirrels in Scotland, and that's an example, the red squirrel. So that was Jean having a little pet, feeding them various nuts and other little treats. Been the first Saturday of the month, it's market day today, so the street's full of farmers producing their wares. This is quite a meeting point in Perth. The circle they call it. Two statues supporting a tubular circular steel member that you can lean against and chat against, discuss football and politics. And up down you can see the market stalls stretching down here. You can get any piece of fruit, veg, cheese, hams, wines, beers. Very popular. I don't know what the girls are going to be getting, but whether it be haggis or tatties, neeps, all the delicacies of life. I'll let you know what they end up with. Here we have the oldest established hotel in Scotland, dating back to 1699, if you can read it. It's called the Salutation Hotel, which is in the South Street in Perth. The two famous figures that guard its entrance. Of course, Perth is the headquarters, or the regimental headquarters of the Black Watch, the Scottish Infantry Battalion, part of the Royal Regiment of Scotland, which leads you, this road leads you up to the bridge, which when you cross over the bridge, you're crossing over the River Tay, taking you into the county of Angus, and you turn right to Dundee and left to Kerrymuir. Here we are in Auchtermuchty, that well-known small village in Fife. Quaint little village, nice and quiet, famous for the fact that it was where Sir Jimmy Shand, a well-known Scottish country dance band leader, spent his days. Sir Jimmy Shand, although he was born in the Fife coast, he spent all his days in Auchtermuchty. Became known as the Laird of Auchtermuchty, Sir Jimmy Shand. There we got the two Jeans, reading about them. Maybe that's what your Jean Hardie would like for her Christmas. A DVD or a DVD of Jimmy Shand records. He's certainly a foot tapper. Well known worthy in Scotland, Sir Jimmy Shand. My mother used to think he was the bee's knees. There he is with his accordion, that's what his instrument. There you go, foot tapping, swinging. He was the Bill Haley, the Elvis Presley of his day.